Today's video is sponsored by 12, featuring a dozen original and unexpected short stories about passion and legacy, and Dropping the Belt, an exciting writing experiment featuring 3 anonymous ghostwriters and 1 hilarious professional wrestling story. Check out these 2 new books from author David Farrell, available at Amazon now.
Welcome to Pod Me If You Can, I'm David Farrell, and today I decided to see this movie, called See This Movie, with John Cho and Seth Meyers.
Pod Me If You Can, movie reviews.
Jake Barrymore, Seth Meyers, is about to turn 30 and has just completed a 3-day film school with his buddy, Larry Finkelstein, John Cho. They enter a film festival under false pretenses and now have 3 weeks to make a feature film. Just a quick spoiler warning, it's hard to talk about See This Movie without featuring what happens at the end of the movie, so I'll throw up a spoiler towards the end, but I will be discussing the ending in this review. This is produced by the guys behind American Pie, and it's an independent film shot in a Dogma style with no lighting on digital film. That might come off as cheap to some people, and it might be the kind of thing that's off-putting to certain viewers. I was able to put that in the back of my mind and kind of appreciate this for what it was. And it feels like that really run-and-gun kind of thing where they quickly set up the camera, quickly stole shots, did as best they could under the circumstances they were in. It feels like the kind of thing that they got together and made over a few weekends, which I appreciate. Jake, the Seth Meyers character, lacks a lot of basic film knowledge, which is what's funny about the odyssey he's on. He won the Student's Choice Award at the 3-day film school that they attended, which doesn't say much because you see his film at the beginning and it's sort of like, well, what is this? But that's the humor of it. Everybody's like, I love your movie, man. You know, it was all in one take, which doesn't say anything about his technical skill. And he really doesn't know what he's doing, but he's such an affable guy. He's likable. He's Seth Meyers, you know. He wouldn't have got that talk show if he wasn't so likable. So this is the kind of movie where you're going, John Cho, Seth Meyers, I like both those guys, so this should be a good movie. But his character is like laughably stupid at times, not understanding what he's doing, which is where the humor comes from. He has a positive attitude, which is fine. And to get into this film festival and get his film to be eligible, his ex-girlfriend's actually working for the film festival in the selection committee, which is lucky. But he tells her that he's dying, and that's why she agrees to put his film in. Of course, there is no film, and he doesn't send one in and submit it. He says he's going to submit it in person, but he's going to shoot it in the meantime. When they actually get there, he hands in a blank tape to stall, so they have more time to make the film. But it feels sort of ridiculous and unrealistic that he could get away with this for so long, and that they could get to a point where they were screening the film and nobody having seen the film. He says, I'm either an idiot or a maverick. Now, John Cho's character is Larry Finkelstein, or Finkelstein, which is the same name as Dahmer's dad in Dahmer and Greg, which I don't know if it was a direct play on that, but it's humorous because, of course, why would John Cho have the name Larry Finkelstein? He's playing the producer of the film, and producing a film with no script is incredibly difficult. There's a book I read once called First Time Director, How to Make It in Hollywood, and it joked that within the context of producing and directing and the way that they sort of work together, that it would be beneficial if you could sleep with your producer. And a version of that happens here. There's one reference that came up that really didn't age well, and that was about Mel Gibson. The Seth Meyers character, when asked if he's going to act as well as direct, says, well, Mel Gibson does it, and he's pretty fucking cool. In terms of the story, sometimes they acknowledge the cameras are there filming them, and sometimes they don't, and it wasn't very consistent, and something I did question at times. Technically, of course, there are issues. Sometimes the focus is on the background instead of the foreground where the actors might be, which is forgivable, but also something you do notice. The lighting is off, and it has that sort of cheap feel I mentioned before. You do forget it after a while, and it does add to the independent nature of the film you're watching. He goes and does a panel for his film at one point, and he's on drugs, which he didn't mean to take. And on drugs, he's quite amusing, and he says a quote that I imagine would be the t-shirt for this film if it was making cult t-shirts. He says, "Ask yourself why you have eyes." And he comes off as some kind of mad genius at times, which is kind of the point, is that there's a lot of buzz building about this film that doesn't exist, you know. Jim Piddock plays a bisexual producer/editor who's helping them out with the movie, and he steals a lot of scenes. He's a funny guy. He makes out with 3 people during the course of the film as well. Pacing here is a major issue. The total runtime of See This Movie is 1 hour and 18 minutes, and it feels long at that. So you got to imagine they put all of the scenes in. I can't imagine they cut anything out with that kind of runtime. And so they've left some of the more bloated, slower scenes because it makes it into a feature film. But if more people know about it, and it felt like they were making a statement, like this was some art piece that they were like, you could make a film in 3 days or 3 weeks and get it into the festival, in itself is the statement. And if they were doing some kind of experiment like that and more people knew about it, maybe then this would have worked. Patton Oswalt has a cameo as one of the other students at the 3-day film school. And Jessica Paré, who some people might know as Don Draper's second wife in Mad Men, plays his actress and the girlfriend for some of the film. Basically, at the end, there's a screening in the final part of the film, and this is where the spoilers come in. All they've been shooting the whole time is this behind-the-scenes footage, so of course, the thing that goes to air as their film is this kind of behind-the-scenes film about their film. And that's been done before as well, a few different places, notably in America's Sweethearts, where Christopher Walken's character is this genius filmmaker, and he goes ahead and makes this movie that is all behind the scenes like drama and nothing to do with the actual script, which was shit, and he threw it, and he made this kind of doco instead. So that came out in 2004, and maybe sort of they were around the same era, sort of similar kind of thing, and that's why this got lost in the shuffle. It's amusing. It's not laugh out loud funny. The film is not iconic enough and not such a revelation that it will stand the test of time. Unfortunately, it falls into those kind of indie experiments that happens to have some famous actors in it. So that's why it's getting reviewed on this YouTube channel. Check out over 200 Pod Me If You Can reviews at the YouTube channel. All obscure films with famous actors you'll know.
Thanks for watching. If you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Check out our podcast at www.podmeifyoucan.com.